Steve Cooper, and welcome to another Rank Success podcast. And this podcast session, if you like, is for me to share some food for thought with you around the attitude, or your attitude rather, towards not just passing your promotion process, but smashing it. And the reason I've chosen that word, smashing your promotion, is because I like it. It really does signify energy, drive, enthusiasm, determination, motivation, all the things that you would expect that people would have or possess before going for a promotion selection process. But that's not always the case, because people have different levels of each of those. And there's also degrees of uncertainty and not being sure about what will be expected of you. And if you're at constable level or at sergeant level and you're looking at the next level up, it's about, if you like, garnering all your attributes, your knowledge, your skills, and then matching them with your confidence and turning up on the day and giving it your best shot. And the reason I've chosen smashing your promotion process is because I just quite like the fact that I'm starting this podcast with that. And I've taken that language from one of the testimonials that you will find on my testimonials page from successful cops, sergeants, inspectors, chief inspectors, and police staff, and other people I've helped through the naval officers selection board, those kind of things, members of police staff. But you'll find mainly police officers' testimonials on there. And their language about how they describe their success, their journey. So it kind of summarizes in meaningful short testimonials what their experience was of their selection process, their board, their assessment centre, etc. So the first kind of concept I wanted to kind of connect you with first and foremost is, preparation. It's the name of the game. It's a simple strategy for succeeding on promotion boards or assessment panels. But to some people, that means different things. And I'm going to go through a couple of, I'm going to let some of my customers speak to you through some selected parts of testimonials here, just to describe their preparation, what they did, and this concept of good, better, and best. Because I always try and get people to think about getting themselves to the state of best preparation, their best version, or your best version of yourself. So what does that take? So being a good operational cop, as I've alluded to previously, is not necessarily the same as being a well-prepared promotion candidate. Now, again, I always allude on these podcasts. I know you're busy people. I know that you work in shifts. You've got other priorities. So if you haven't got time to listen to this podcast at the moment all the way through, or some others, you can download a digital promotion toolkit for sergeant or inspector, chief inspector, or I do lots of free stuff. So free podcasts like this, free YouTube channel videos, and free blogs. There's some free downloadable guides, but essentially there's also digital bespoke promotion toolkits for the rank that you're going for, and or a 4-hour promotion masterclass. That's with me, suited, booted, my serious head on. I've got my serious head on at the moment actually, but I'm a little bit more relaxed than I am delivering a masterclass to the camera and that recorded product that is there that you can download. So people approach promotion differently. I just encourage you to get into that state of being best. So understanding that some people are good on promotion boards or selection processes. Others are better on the day. And you have to be the best, because forces tend to select from the best, particularly if there are large numbers or there's a high degree of competition. And there's another word, there's another concept, and people often overlook that word, competition, for promotion boards and selection processes. You are in competition with other people going for promotion in that particular process. And a lot of people get, if you like, focused on that aspect. And what I mean by that is other people, your colleagues, your peers that are going for promotion, and people start what I call limited thinking, if you like, negative thinking, Start thinking about the people that are going for promotion with you as the competition. They're better than you, they've got more experience as acting or temporary, or they're better supported than you are. That's all, if you like, the wrong place to focus, because the real competition is with yourself. From where you are today, getting to be the best you can so that you can deliver on the day, because you'll be assessed as an individual, not with anybody else. So you can't do anything about anybody else in that competition, but what you can do is a tremendous amount for yourself to get yourself from where you are now to where you need to be, where you want to be, and where you feel that you're most confident and ready to deliver your best self, if you like, to the promotion panel or board. So this concept of preparing to a depth and breadth, the likes of which you've never done before or committed before, signifies or often results in you being good, better, or best. So how you choose to think about it now, if you want to smash it through your promotion board, is to perhaps digest and reflect on some of what I'm saying here, add it to your own thoughts and experience, and decide what you want to do. So when I say I'm going to talk about some of the language that's used by my customers, if you like, by successful officers who've got through promotion processes, as a coach, I pick up on people's language, and I've alluded to that and the language people use before they're successful on boards, and that's quite interesting. Talking about being, how do you feel with the opportunity you have ahead of you? So things like, I feel like a rabbit in the headlights, I feel like a lamb to slaughter. I'm nervous, I'm uncertain, and all of that can be banished, if you like, by focusing upon things that you can really hit the ground running with, gain some momentum and traction, and by that I'm talking about my downloadable digital toolkits, because you don't have to think about anything else, you can just crack on with that. And all of the people that I'm going to allude to here, and all of the people that are on my testimonials page that you can go along and read if you've got a long while, because there's quite a few of them on there now, so don't get tired scrolling, just flick between the ones you want to have a look, the ones that resonate with you. But the ones that resonated with me for this, in terms of the language that's used, and this is from Nick, who said, and I'll just really say it, I smashed my first promotion board first time. I'm currently on top of the world, and out of 124 officers to get to the interview stage, I'm one of only 23 that got promoted. I spent plenty of time studying, revising, and preparing for my sergeant interview board. However, once I'd begun this process of cramming my head with so many key points, I had no idea of how to get it all to come back out in some type of functional order, or even if I was on the right track. So Steve's guides not only showed me how to focus my answers to prevent a scattergun effect, but also introduced me to many areas that I hadn't considered, such as revision tips, key reading, how to present myself and how to speak, and really be heard with enthusiasm and passion. And I've no doubt this was a major factor in my recent promotion from PC to Sergeant. Now, each one of these is an individual perspective. This is obviously Nick's perspective, and I picked up on that language. I smashed my promotion process first time, and everybody wants to do that, really. Otherwise, why are you entering the process unless it's for other means other than to get there as quickly as you can and to do the work once, to do it right as you can do it. And a couple of things that Nick alludes to there, once I've begun the process of cramming my head with so many key points, that's an interesting observation for me to look at, because before, that's what he'd obviously done before he approached it slightly differently. But a lot of people allude to the work that they do beforehand, and doing some meaningful work is important, but some people will go off and read all their force policies. And I've had people say, look, Steve, I read through all my force policies. It exhausted me. I used up half a printer. I used up a pack of highlighter pens, and I'm none the wiser for it. And that's because it's a meaningless, fruitless exercise. And yet so many people think that they need to look through their force policies in order to become a good promotion candidate. So The second part of what Nick alludes to here is that I was shown how to focus my answers to prevent a scattergun effect. So that's about making every second count while you're talking. And if you know what you're going to say, then a real good state of confidence, if you like, that signifies a state of good preparation for a promotion board is thinking to yourself, and not saying it to the panel, obviously, but which of you have got questions for my answers? Now that really does signify a state of a well-prepared candidate, and that's where I would hopefully try and support people to arrive in that state. And we can do that through one-to-one support, or you can get immerse yourself in the digital guides. They cover all of these issues, and then you can kind of absorb them, reflect on them, and add in your own experience, policing experience, life experience, and get orientated, if you like, for the challenge ahead. But so I was really kind of intrigued to see that language being used, and it's the kind of thing I pick up quite quickly. I'm very pleased to see that that was the outcome for Nick. And clearly on the day, out of 124 officers, and that's another point, you know, some forces have got hundreds and hundreds of people going for promotion. There's nothing you can do about that. So you're not actually competing with hundreds and hundreds of people. That point about competing with yourself is going to push you up that field, if you like. Enthusiasm and passion, Nick also talks about, well, they're key ingredients. Nobody wants to have a robot sat in front of on a promotion board, someone who's uncertain of what they're saying. They want to see that you're enthusiastic for the job, that you're passionate for policing, and that, you know, you can't hide your NVCs in an interview. So that's the kind of thing that comes through in your non-verbal communication NVCs. Are you just saying words, or are you actually saying them and demonstrating with your non-verbal communication that passion and enthusiasm? So that's Nick. Maria is another one, another testimonial, and phrased slightly different, but Maria says, I've worked my socks off the last couple of years. I passed the promotion application, and then I went on to pass the Sergeant Board 2, coming top in the force in my interview. I'm now promoted. I also applied for another force at the same time, and I passed their Sergeant promotion process too, which was an application form and interview, but I've decided to stay where I am for the time being. So there you go, Maria smashed her promotion process and another one besides. So what is it about this? Because there is an emerging pattern here, and you will see it through my testimonials, even as I look back and reflect on them now. And I'm very proud of them, by the way. I mean, I didn't go into doing this as a business for the money. It is a business, but I thoroughly enjoy what I'm doing, and to get feedback like that shows me that I'm on the right path. And helping people to smash promotion selection processes, not just at sergeant but inspector and chief inspector level, is something that you know, I find motivating, inspiring, and of great value to me, and a good contribution. The fact that I'm doing it as a business, as a coach, as a mentor, for now is a good thing, and I'm trying to keep that momentum going. It is going. For those of you that look at the testimonials, I don't expect that I expect you've got a life, so you're not doing that all the time. But if you look at them, you'll see new ones being added every week. And you know, not everybody wants. I get a lot of messages where people are not particularly happy to share or have their success known, but they're more than happy to let me know that they bought my guide and were successful in their force process. Everybody's different. Not only in how they approach promotion, but also in how they want to celebrate it, if you like, or make things known. So with Maria's approach there, I worked my socks off for the last couple of years. That's often natural, whether people have had opportunity to do acting or temporary as part of that. Most people have really developed themselves, focused on their CPD. Ahead of a promotion process, you'll have had a PDR. That, you know, different forces have different processes in place at different times for different ranks, but PDRs often have to be evidence your suitability, if you like. And then when you get to the CVF, it talks about you having to be a competent sergeant. competent constable before you can become a competent sergeant or go for sergeant, and you have to be a competent sergeant before you can go for inspector. So I'm very well aware that there is a lot of work prior to going for a promotion board, and probably arguably rightly so that you can have that evidence or those examples to rely upon, whether that's in applications or whether it is for supporting you in verbal responses to questions you may face in an interview. So Maria smashed two processes there, one after the other, and decided to stay where she was at the time. I've got another one here from David, inspector candidate. I enjoyed your blog and I loved your inspector guide. Your mnemonic for interview responses got me promoted and landed me a secondment too. So there's another kind of double bubble result, if you like, a promotion board and a secondment. So what you might look into that and go, well, how did he do that? How did David do that? Well, in the inspector guide, there is a mnemonic that he alludes to, and I've just done a blog and a podcast on mnemonics because I like mnemonics, I favour mnemonics, I suggest mnemonics, I invent mnemonics, and so can you. They're just ways of chunking information, but why do you need to learn a whole load of stuff if you can just remember it and recall it and chunk it through a mnemonic? So there is a mnemonic for the inspector's role, a mnemonic for the sergeant's role, a mnemonic for the drivers of public confidence, a mnemonic for the code of ethics, because you can't remember all the code of ethics, so why would you? Just have a look at the mnemonic and see whether you can recall parts of it within a conversation on a promotion interview. I used, let's have a quick look, sorry. I enjoyed your blog. Yeah, I enjoyed your blog. Again, for those that you don't know, there is a blog on my site, ranksuccess.co.uk. Just go to the top and click blog and it'll open up a whole load of reading information for you, topical information on the CVF, loads of things, all things promotion basically. And I also blog on policehour.co.uk. Go to the top of that site and click police promotion and you'll open up a whole load of other blogs that I've done there as part of editorial or articles, if you like, over the last couple of years. People learn differently, so people like to learn by doing, people like to learn by reading, listening or watching videos. So I try and cater for all of those ways of learning through those methods, if you like. So you can read the blogs, watch the YouTube videos, or listen to the podcasts like this, however you choose to do it. And then when you've made your mind up, when you think I know, or sound like at least I know what I'm talking about, you might say, well, actually I'm going to invest in myself and I'm actually going to download one of these toolkits that Steve keeps talking about, so that I've got it on my iPad or my computer and I can start really getting into this stuff and gaining traction and momentum, and get myself to that position of being one of the best candidates possible, best prepared candidates, because I want to stand out. And in line with all this language, these candidates do stand out on boards, simply because of what they've done to prepare, a match to obviously the work they've done before and their enthusiasm, determination, drive, commitment and focus that they bring to bear on their preparation. There is another one here that I've got in my hand here. Shane, just to let you know, with your product and a lot of hard work, I've been promoted to sergeant. I used your guides to change my mindset, which assisted greatly. Thanks very much. So mindset's really important. I've done some blogs. There's a whole section on mindset in my guides. You may even find a couple of articles or sections on mindset. So what we're talking there around is fixed mindset. A lot of people will go for promotion once and don't bother going again because they think, I've tried that, it's too hard, I can't get any better, my feedback was awful. Whereas the growth mindset is about, well, look, what can I learn from that? What does that tell me? Am I going to sit here and be knocked back forever on my career? Or am I going to go again? Am I going to try and do things differently? And just keep going. So there's a whole thing. I mean, that's a very simple way of summarising growth mindset, and I've done it in the context of police promotion. So Carol Dweck, Dr. Carol Dweck, is the author on that. She's wrote a great book, Mindset. You'll find it in one of my book reviews on my YouTube channel. Mindset is a whole focus around that static and growth mindset concept, and around why some people succeed with those mindsets and others don't. So have a look at that and you'll find it in there. But I'm interested to see it alluded to, because I think Shane may well have seen it in those guides, and that's why he's alluding to it. But again, he's used it to get promoted to sergeant successfully. This is Luke as inspector, a newly promoted inspector. Hi Steve, I was successful at the inspector's process with a top score. Your masterclass, your excellent masterclass made a huge difference, and he's put huge in block capitals there. The practice I did and smart working helped tremendously. So a lot of people think that you don't have to do any practice or smart work ahead of a promotion board. Some people wing it and just want to turn up and see how they get on the day. But those that commit to some practice, and what I mean by that is just thinking through and reflecting to yourself, jotting out some questions, or having a look at there's quite a big question bank of sample promotion board questions in the interview guide that's on my site, and practice. Get family, friends, loved ones when you're ready, when you've done the work, when you've done the background work and reading, you've got some idea about your examples and your evidence that you're going to offer or that you've got to offer, then start getting into that mindset of questions and responding. Get someone to ask you a question, then respond to it, and have a look at some of the structures and models that are in the guides to help you do that, because again, everybody's different. So whether you use PAR, STAR, SAW, CARLI, Enamel, which is the one that I put in my guide as the mnemonic, which I get a lot of good feedback on from people, because it's a good conversational management tool, Enamel, and you don't have to follow it completely, but if you know the mnemonic, you can structure your responses, or part of them, using that mnemonic. So Luke got top score in his inspector's board, so that's another case of smashing promotion. And he talks about the excellent masterclass. That's now, as I've said before, a 4-hour recorded masterclass. That's with me stood effectively on the video at a lectern with slides, and I'm talking to slides, and I'm presenting all the aspects that you'll need to. It's like someone described it as a super briefing ahead of their promotion board, and I can't do it any better than that, I'm afraid. So a super briefing for promotion is a great way of doing it. In fact, I might even write that on the actual site. I just remembered that one. Okay, so smashing your promotion board, good, better, best. You've got to be best to get through, and on one selection process you may have lots and lots of people who are good, others who are better, but when they actually do that, if your force have got a lot of people and they have to have a cut-off point, you want to be aiming for the stars so that you hit the sky kind of thing. You don't want to be under that line when they draw the line, because you could have had a good performance that would have been good on any other year, or it might have been best on any other year. So you've just got to aim to give it your very best. There's no guarantees in this. There's no guarantees with promotion at all. I can't guarantee you success. I wouldn't even begin to suggest that, because there are so many variables involved. But one of the things that I can tell you is that all of the people on my site, on my testimonials, all of that feedback, every one of those individuals has in common the fact that they downloaded a starter kit. So if someone said to you, what if someone's already written down for you or put together for you almost everything you need to do some smart work ahead of a promotion selection process? Well, I like to think that I'm now getting to the point where those digital guides and all of my collective products and services I offer are there, and they can do that, and they do keep doing it, because I keep getting these testimonials in. So the last one I wanted to kind of focus on here in terms of smashing your promotion process, a little bit more subtle here, but lots of good feedback here. So this is from John, who is now a superintendent, but came first as a sergeant and got promoted to inspector, then chief inspector, and this is just some of the feedback that has been given. I think what my greatest concern was translating the work I was doing and that I'd done at my current rank into the application form against the behaviours. I desperately didn't want to fall at the first hurdle. And many people do fall at that first hurdle. So the application process is there as a sift. It's there to sift out, large volumes of candidates. There's a purpose to it. It's also about written, effective communication and the skill that you'll need. And that becomes more important depending on which rank you're going for. And so, unsurprisingly, that is a greatest concern, getting through the first part of it. Now, in some forces, it's not an application. It is it might be a situational judgment test or some other psychometric test that is a gateway. And forces experiment with these things all the time. Trying to translate the work I was doing and had done at the current rank into an application form against the behaviours. So I like the fact that John used the word behaviours there, because on my masterclass I don't like the word competency. I mean, technically it might be correct, but you are going to be assessed in a behavioural interview for the behaviours you demonstrate in the workplace. You're giving evidence of how you behave in the workplace. So for me, I choose to favour the word behaviours, because if you're unlucky, you may well find all of the technical words in your instructions or guidance from your force, and I've seen it in applications where they describe things as competencies, so the criteria as competencies, personal qualities, knowledge, skills, attributes, and behaviours. And that is where I think some of the mystery around promotion application processes or promotion selection processes is morphing language. So for me, I just wipe the board clean and use one word: behaviour. Tell me about the behaviour you demonstrate in the workplace. When have you demonstrated integrity in the workplace? When have you demonstrated or been impartial in your work? So just simplifying some of the language is important. So I'm glad to see that being used in there. And I desperately didn't want to fall at the first hurdle. Many people do. It's almost like the Grand National. Everybody gets ready for a selection process at the beginning of the year, or the force announce a selection process, and all the runners and riders all jockey for position, and they get given their applications, and woomph, 75% of the field go down at the first fence. So it's very much a sifting process from that perspective, and that's what it's designed to do. So unsurprisingly, being concerned about matching your experience to those criteria, those behaviours, is important, and that is a skill, and that is covered in my application guides. So I've got detailed application guides with detailed examples against the behaviours and values, so value statements. So that's that first paragraph of that. And I think it's off. So John goes on, I think that it's often difficult trying to shoehorn your evidence into promotion applications and get it wrong, and I wanted to make sure I put my right evidence in the right place. I therefore purchased Steve's Inspector application promotion to assist me, which I found really useful to see how evidence should be structured and provide a detailed and evidenced response to the behaviours. What I put in there is what good evidence can look like, so and what it does look like, and I try and make that detailed to each rank, to the relevant behaviour or competencies as they call them, and for people to get an idea, because one of the things I noticed with frameworks, whether it's the integrated competency framework, which I started when I started rank success dealing with, that forces were using, then it was the policing professional framework, the Metropolitan Police had the Metropolitan Performance Framework, the Metropolitan Leadership Framework, and what I noticed in all of that was that there's very few of them ever give an example of what good looks like. And that really kind of made me pay attention to, and that's why I provide examples. So, when I was a young DC, I wanted to look at, when I was green, wet behind the ears, if you like, okay, who does the best MG5? Who's the DC in CID who's done a 12 or 14-handed public order investigation where you've got, 14 suspects all involved in a mass brawl? What does that great example of an MG5 all laid out nicely with the evidence against each individual one to support the lawyer or solicitor standing up and explaining that to the magistrates. And I managed to find a good couple of examples of those, and they served me well for a couple of years. So just using that same process, I wanted to make sure those going for promotion can have a look at what good looks like, or what it can look like. They can go, well, that's really interesting because I did that, or I've done that, or I wouldn't present it in that way, but I know what he's talking about now. It just gives you an idea, helps you get off the ground. So that's why I put examples in, and I'm glad that they are helpful. And then John goes on, what I particularly liked was the way the guide laid out the different word examples. For example, 250, 300 and 500 words, and how to answer force-specific questions around personal statements, around what I would bring to the rank. So that's an interesting thing as well for me to kind of pick up on. So I do lay out, because forces are different, as I alluded to earlier on, I do lay out examples at 250, 300, 500, I think there's 400 in there as well. And that's because forces ask for evidence against behaviours, or value statements, or a letter to the chief constable, or explain why. And they give you 1,000 words. So I've seen 750. I think there's a 750 word example. There is a 750 word example in my guides, and others are 1,000 words. So a small essay, if you like, and every single word counts. So if you get asked to do one of those, every single word counts. And that's where the skill, that's where there's some of the difficulty, the challenge is. So the more time you allow yourself to do that, because funnily enough, it's a bit like a wedding speech, or a best man speech. If you've ever done that, you're never going to read out your first draft. You're never going to go and submit your first draft. So if you are preparing a promotion application, you already know what evidence you've got. You could have a look at any of the CVF competencies or behaviours and say, have I demonstrated that in the workplace? What evidence have I got against that particular competency? And you can start writing it out. So those examples are in there to help you do that, as to what your evidence might look like. And the 4 specific questions around personal statements. So personal statements and what you would bring to the rank are, so they can be 50 words. So 50 words could be a personal statement. Imagine walking in and sitting down in your promotion board, and they say to you, good morning, thank you for coming in. We've got loads of things on at the moment. We've got lots of mutual aid going on. We're really challenged. So we're going to ask you to give us 50 words as to why you should be promoted today. From when you open your mouth to when you close your mouth, you've got 50 words. What will they be? So have a think about that, because that's a personal statement. Now, taking that on to 1,000 words, those are the 2 extremes, the parameters, if you like, for personal statements. So personal statements are about what you'll bring to the rank, what you will do. So another way of thinking about that is, if you sit down and on the promotion interview, and they hold up your stripes or your pips and say, if we give you these stripes, or if we give you these pips, what will you do with them? And that's another way of really focusing and zoning straight in on what are you going to do when you get promoted. So very much a future-focused, forward-focused kind of approach. So again, there are examples in there about that. As a newly promoted sergeant, I will, etc., etc. As a newly promoted inspector, I will focus on so and so and so and so. So that's what my thoughts on that particular testimonial. And he carries on saying that the application guide didn't just help me for the application form, but it also helped to structure my interview examples and how best to create a clear vision for what I would demonstrate and what I would achieve in the next rank. I thoroughly recommend the Inspector's Application Guide for those seeking promotion, not just to Inspector. Now, to be fair, when I got that, I redesigned my guides, because I realised there was a lot of helpful and useful supportive information there for those going from Inspector to Chief Inspector. So there's now a Inspector Chief Inspector guide with a lot more helpful information in. The guide helped me broaden my thinking and awareness for the higher rank of superintendent, and I feel it would be equally of use to those applying for chief inspector and superintendent because, and I didn't have to pay John for any of this, it was all free feedback, because I have yet to see anything which gives candidates this clear advice and guidance in order to best structure their evidence to be successful in a police promotion process. So for me, that is smashing. That is smashing advice and guidance for me and feedback, and I'm very grateful to John and to all of the individuals that are kind enough to provide me with feedback. It's really meaningful for me. I do reflect on it and I do think through it, and if anything I've said has resonated with you, then you know what to do. You know, coaching, getting promoted is all about action at the end of the day. We can talk till the cows come home, but it's about you taking action that matters. And you know, your options, your choices include being able to download a digital bespoke toolkit to be able to crack on with your promotion aspirations and preparation. So again, I've already written out everything you need to know. I would respectfully suggest to get yourself promoted, or at least to kind of prepare yourself. So I wish you all the best with it, and I hope you've managed to listen to this point, because I don't do too many of those talking about my customers or letting my customers talk for me, but I'm very pleased to have been able to do that, particularly for those that have been able to smash their promotion, which is where I'd encourage you to aim and to focus. If you've got any queries, I am on the phone, texts, I'm always happy, and I do get them. I'm starting to get a lot of them now, even if they're just quick queries around, you know, do you guys cover this, Steve? Or I've got a quick query on this in our force. I'm more than happy to take phone calls or text, and I will get back to you. I do try and prioritise, as I expect you do, your work and your commitments. So if I don't get back to you for a couple of days, I will get back to you, and I will also be back with another podcast very shortly. And until then, take care.